Hey, and now we're reading about the Sons of Liberty. And the Sons of Liberty were a secret patriot organization. If you remember the Sons of Liberty, you weren't telling people about it unless you were sure they agreed with you. And they were originally formed in 1765 and they dissolved in 1776. So, the Sons of Liberty shares a lot in common with terrorism. They used violence, they used anger, they used fear to try and intimidate people into doing what they wanted. They weren't really big on real killing. So that's one of the reasons why we don't really consider them an actual terrorist organization. Also, the word terrorist hadn't been invented yet. So, yes, so the Sons of Liberty it was a secret revolutionary organization that was founded by Samuel Adams in the 13 American colonies, and it was supposed to advance the rights of European colonists and fight taxation by the British government. It played a major role in most colonies in battling the Stamp Act in 1765. The group officially disbanded after the Stamp Act was repealed. However, the name was applied to other local separatist groups during the years preceding the American Revolution. So while it originally was dissolved in 1767, the name continued, and people still claimed to be a part of it, and there were still actions carried out by it. It wasn't until 1776 when the 13 colonies declared their independence that the goals of the Sons of Liberty had been completed, and the organization, well, there wasn't much point to it anymore. Now, one of the things I love about this is the story of their flag. If you look at their flag, it's a series of red and white stripes. It's very bold. It's very rah, and they would carry out their acts, and they would do what they did, and it was very, very popular. It's kind of similar to how Robin Hood would technically do illegal things. He would steal from the rich to give to the poor. The Sons of Liberty were doing illegal acts, but they were very popular because of it. And the big thing that they originally fought against was the Stamp Act. And after the Stamp Act, they came up with their flag. And they're like, oh, look at our cool flag. This is great. Well, one of the things that the British government did to combat the Sons of Liberty was to say that flag is illegal. And they described it, and they said, well, you're not allowed to have 9 stripes of red and white vertically right next to each other. That's illegal. Can't have a flag like that. So the Sons of Liberty said, all right, what's up? I really enjoy that. Yeah, it's so simple, but it's very clever. All right, so let's continue. In 1765, the British government needed money to afford the 10,000 officers and soldiers that it had living in the colonies, and it intended that the colonies themselves should contribute. The British passed a series of taxes aimed at the colonists, and many of the colonists refused to pay certain taxes, like the Stamp Act. They argued that they should not be held accountable for taxes which were decided upon without any form of their consent through a representative. See, we voted, but our representatives are here in the colonies. These laws that you're passing that are taxing us, they're being passed by Parliament, the lawmaking group in London, England. Colonies didn't have a member of that group. No one they voted for would go to London and be a part of Parliament because Parliament wouldn't allow it. And they're like, well, if they can't tax us unless we're voting for a member there. We don't have any votes. This commonly became their motto: no taxation without representation. Parliament insisted on its right to rule the colonies, despite the fact that the colonies had no representative in Parliament. The most incendiary tax was the Stamp Act of 1765. People got the most angry about it. A lot of that was because of the build-up before it. But when that act was passed and when it was implemented, when that paper showed up, people got furious. And it caused a firestorm of opposition through the legislative resolutions, starting in the colony of Virginia. And there were public demonstrations, there were threats, and occasionally hurtful losses. Now, in popular thought, the Sons of Liberty was a formal underground organization with recognized members and leaders. It's far more likely that the name was an underground term from any man resisting the new crown taxes and laws. It probably didn't have the organization and the structure we think about. It's probably just a bunch of people who are like, yeah, I'm a member of the Sons of Liberty. I don't like the king. I don't like his taxes. Nah. Sons of Liberty. The well-known label allowed organizers to make or create anonymous summons to a Liberty Tree or Liberty Pole or other public meeting places. It's literally just a pole stuck somewhere or a tree somewhere. If you meet at the Liberty Tree, we'll have a meeting to discuss how much we dislike taxes. Furthermore, a uniting name, the name was important. Furthermore, a uniting name helped to promote intercolonial efforts against Parliament and the Crown's actions. This is what was so important about it. People could rally under the popularity of the name Sons of Liberty. Now, they are very famous, and you have a list over here, and a series of pictures of some of the most famous of them. But this picture over here, that is a depiction of something called tar and feathering. And they would tar and feather people. So Boston, Massachusetts, the New England colonies, they were big in ship making. And one of the things you would do when you're making rope for your ships or sealing the hull of a ship so it became watertight is you would use hot tar. And when they would tar and feather somebody, you would take probably a tax guy, somebody who was in charge of the taxes, somebody who worked for the king, and you take him and you mess him up, you beat him up, and you would take this hot tar and you would put it on their skin and it would burn them. And then you would put feathers on them from you'd plucked off a chicken. And this guy who the day before was, oh yes, I wear the seal of the king, and I have the authority of the king to take your money and give it to the king because I'm a tax man, and you better do what I say. Yesterday, that's how his attitude was, and today, he's clucking like a chicken while he's screaming in pain down the middle of the streets. It's pretty vicious. Now, if you watch TV and you see a depiction on modern television shows, they like to depict tarring and feathering as this brutal offense that could literally kill someone by melting them away, and it was just horrendous. And if you look at some pictures of people who were tarred and feathered in World War II for not supporting the war effort, you'll find some pretty messed up stuff. But that's because in these depictions they're using modern tar that you use for a road. Like when you make a road outside in the street you see every day, and that stuff, when you get it hot enough to apply to something, it's 300 degrees and it'll melt right through you, and it's brutal. But the tar they were using in the Revolutionary days was completely different. It was like super hot bath water. It would burn you, maybe blister your skin, but it wasn't going to melt you, and it definitely wasn't going to kill you. It was mostly about a little bit of pain and a whole lot of embarrassment. And the Sons of Liberty popularized it.